Yeah, I think we'll start now.
Okay.
Yeah, good evening to all. My name is Srinivas. I'm the Executive Director of TiE Hyderabad now. Welcome to the TiE family, both are chartered members and associate members. This is the first Leadership Talks 2022. And over this years, it has become a marquee event, an event which we all look forward to. We get to hear some perspectives and pearls of wisdom from accomplished entrepreneurs and high achievers. Today we have Mr. Suresh Chukkapalli, the Chairman Emeritus of the Phoenix Group. And before we get in that, some quick ground rules of Zoom etiquette. Next slide, Sandeep. Yeah, all attendees in this meeting are requested to stop video and mute yourself throughout the session. Please use the chat option to ask any questions to the speaker. All questions will be taken up by the moderator during the Q&A session. So no questions or interruptions in between, please. Should you have any trouble with audio, try checking your internet connection or seek help from the meeting host. I would now like to introduce our moderator for the evening, Mr. Bhat Dittakavi. He's a very senior TiE charter member and also a board member of 2022. Bhat is a well-known serial entrepreneur with over 2 decades of experience with expertise across investment banking, healthcare, pharma, insurance, etc. I now hand over the floor to Bhat to take this proceedings forward.
Thank you so much. And it's a great opportunity for me to moderate the modest and humble Mr. Suresh Chukkapalli. And when I look at his profile, I mean, that spans many, many pages. So I'll keep it super simple. And he has been a successful entrepreneur. And as you guys know, he is a Chairman Emeritus of Phoenix Group in Hyderabad. And he also plays multiple roles. So one of such roles is as an honorary ambassador for South Korea Inside University. And we would like to deep dive right into the moderation and the session by Mr. Chukkapalli. I would like to have this as a 4-pronged approach. The first one is going to be about Mr. Chukkapalli's early entrepreneurship, out of the college all the way into his early entrepreneurship, wherein he has done mechanical engineering, transition into a family business, into real industrial business. Then he has worked for somebody as a co-founder, Lanco, and his journey briefly and with Lanco. Then post Lanco, he has worked and then started rising from ashes. That's what he called himself. That's how he named Phoenix. And Phoenix Group is named after being 14 years working for Lanco, working with Lanco, coming out and then rising from ashes, starting from zero all again. And then he wanted to really, really retire at the age 55. And then he missed his promise to himself by 1.5 years. Now that he is Chairman Emeritus, he has been doing larger than life activities that are making an impact in Telangana and everywhere else. So I would like again to let you know, the first portion is going to be about early entrepreneurship. Second is a little bit about Lanco journey. The third is going to be post Lanco entrepreneurship, and final journey is going to be about beyond Phoenix, what he has been doing. And we will end the session with a quick rapid fire. And in between, we will open the questions for Q&A. And I will be looking at the chat. In between, if you have any questions, please do post there. I will ask those questions by moderating myself. So I hope, Mr. Chukkapalli, I again consider this as a great opportunity to interact with you in front of public, and namaste. And the first question to you is, you are a mechanical engineer from Siddhaganga in Tumkur, and you did mechanical engineering, you came home, and then you're exploring what to do, and then start your journey from there. I mean, why did you not become a mechanical engineer, and then why did you become somebody who supports the industry?
Yeah, thank you. But I think I had an exemplary, life so far. As a small kid from Guntur, so I grew up in Guntur under the shadows of my father, and of course, my father was a leading businessman in Guntur, and he truly is the motivating factor for all of us, and particularly for my molding my life into what I am today. So when I finished my engineering in Karnataka, I came back, and there was a family business in automobiles, which my father used to run with my brothers, my brothers-in-law, everyone. We had several branches, and 83, when I came back to Guntur, it didn't take me much time to get involved in the business, because being in business for a long time, and I used to go to the office regularly when I was in holidays. So straight away I went into the business of retailing automobile spare parts. At that time, for some reason, I had applied for a MTech and got a MTech production technology in Pilani, in BITS. But somehow I opted out of it, because I didn't want to go in for further studies. I don't know for what reason at that time it hit me. So I joined family business, and within 6 months of my joining the family business, there was a new opportunity which came, where you all remember TVS has launched a motorcycle in collaboration with Suzuki, and it was called In Suzuki at that time. And because we had decades of partnership with the TVS group, so we were given the dealership, and so we had to set up a new company. And father had asked me to drive that company within maybe about 6 months of my arrival into business. So that was my initial startup, and I took it pretty seriously, and became the second largest distributor for TVS in Suzuki motorcycles in Andhra Pradesh at that time, the combined Andhra Pradesh. So it was a good moment what I had, and then it progressed, and we were doing very good, successful business in that. So it never stuck to me whether I should get into something else other than the automobile, after coming back from college. So, and I was never destined to do a job anywhere, because, right in our blood, we were taught that we are a business family, we have to get into the business. So that's how I started off my career.
Very good, very good. If you are very unique in that sense. Family businesses continue to be family businesses, isn't it? In your case, you did not take the track of your dad. You siphoned off eventually.
I wouldn't say that. I was pushed into moving to some other activity, not by choice, but by circumstances. Right. Let me elaborate on that. After getting into business and being the only engineer in the family, even before I thought of any other thing, there was an opportunity which has come the family way, where my brother-in-law got an opportunity. That a known entrepreneur is setting up a copper powder manufacturing factory, and he was looking at investors. So my brother-in-law discussed with my dad, and dad agreed to put some money into that. And then in addition to the money, they also wanted a director in the company at the board level. So, being only the engineer in the family, so they all said I should be the director on that company. Very well, I signed the position and I started attending the meetings, and it was it was a very good initiative and very good product. But unfortunately, what happened was the technology was brought from Hindustan Door Oliver of Germany. And it was a very new technology. And unfortunately, we were not able to truly leverage the product because the technology or the main equipment failed several times, and all the raw material got destroyed. So within, I think, 2-3 years of our starting the production, the company almost went bankrupt. So you should now say that my career, very, very early stages of my career started with bankruptcy of that company, not my core family business. So at that time, what happened was the managing director who was single-handedly operating this plant, and we were all sleeping directors. So he had requested that he needed some support in reviving the factory. So at that time, the corporate office used to be in Hyderabad, and all the banks which have funded are also in Hyderabad. So the managing director used to stay in the factory in Guntakal in Andhra Pradesh. So I had no other choice when my father asked, "What do you want to do?" Then and said whether I'm willing to do that, to move to Hyderabad to see how we can revive it. I thought it was a very short stint. I can go there in 6 months. I can come back. So being a very successful businessman in Guntur, having my father's umbrella with me, and many friends, many colleagues, everyone, I had to move into Hyderabad single-handedly, without any friends, without any contacts, without any well-wishers or godfathers, nor even the Urdu language in Hyderabad. So that was in the 1990. So my stint in Guntur was about 6.5 years. And in 1990, I moved to Hyderabad, and definitely, struggled very hard for almost about 2 years to see how we can revive this unit. But it was beyond repair or beyond revival, because the main boiler, the fluidized bed roaster, was a failure, and nothing could really help recover that. So ultimately, that had to suffer, and it had to close down. So that was my reason for diversifying or getting into a different area other than the automobile.
Okay. See, it looks like you were asked by your dad to get into this industry business. Then later on, you had to close it. You tried your level best. Then somebody else that said, "You know what? Let's get into real estate construction business. Maybe you want to dab your feet there." It looks like the journey seems to be happening not by choice, but somehow there is a trigger coming from outside. Is this correct?
Exactly. What exactly happened was, during those 2 years of my, being in Hyderabad, I had made a lot of acquaintances, contacts, and several of my contacts from Guntur also, started coming in. My work in Hyderabad was running around the banks and the institutions, financial institutions, to get money. So I used to have a lot of spare time, because, after all, once you meet the bank manager for 1 hour in a day, after that you are free. You have no other work. And I was just going around, hanging around in Hyderabad, meeting people and things like that. I never even thought that I would look at another opportunity at that time. But suddenly one day, a well-wisher of mine, in a casual conversation, he mentioned that there is a property, in Amirpet, and it had certain problems with the tenant because there was a tenant who had been there for about 30, 35 years and they are not vacating, and the court has given a vacation order, but a compensation of certain amount has to be paid. And the owners of the property, who are Muslim gentlemen, they didn't have the money because they were also working in some organization. So this gentleman said, there might be an opportunity where you can see if you can get involved in that. So I felt there's nothing wrong in having a look at it. Then there was a meeting arranged, and we sat together with the young boys. They were 4 or 5 years juniors to me, and understood the whole problem. And it's a huge property for that matter. It's almost an acre of property in Amirpet at that time. And so I tried to understand the whole problem and put together a strategy how to revive or get these people vacated. So I put in some money, and then I had, at that time I was also on the board of advisors of Bank of Baroda, which is a local regional board. The regional manager formed a small board where myself, the Viceroy Prabhakar Reddy, and a couple of other people were there. So we used to bank with Bank of Baroda through my automobile business for the last, more than 30 years at that time. So Bank of Baroda was very, very close to me and my family. So I requested the regional manager to support, who truly came forward and supported the initiative. And we were successfully able to pay the money to the institute which was running there. I can tell you it's a Sultan Ulum school. The part of the engineering college, Mukfamja, their group. So the moment we paid the money, they were kind enough, they vacated the premises. And since the premises got vacated, then we obviously had to use the premises, and that's how we got into the real estate venture. So yeah.
So, I mean, when you bumped into Muslim gentlemen, like you stated, you are new to Hyderabad. I mean, what made you believe to chip in your own money and then bring them out of waters and win their trust? I mean, how do you start seeing the spark in the people? How do you see an opportunity that is out there for you to just grab? How do you trust people? What is your mechanism as an entrepreneur?
I believe every entrepreneur has an instinct. Without instincts, we will never be able to do business. So in majority of my businesses, most of them went through instincts and gut feeling. So when I saw the opportunity, when I saw the location, when I also met these boys, I found them reasonably good people. They come from a traditional old Muslim family, and they're well educated, they're good people. And I thought the location of the property is also an excellent location. Even though I never had any experience in real estate or any other thing, I found that this is a good opportunity, because those days a handful of property developers were there, not many people were there. So there was a huge gap, huge opportunity there. And yes, it's hard work, struggle very hard. I was there on the site from morning 8 o'clock to evening 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. We had to cut down a big hill. Hyderabad is a rocky terrain. So and it was a huge first project for us. It's almost about 100,000 square feet in the very beginning. Even though it's a gigantic task, I don't know, God favored and everything favored. We gelled well, and we were able to successfully build the project. And we sold off the project. It was pretty, comfortable to selling it. Of course, the cost at that time, what we sold was about 550, 600 rupees a square foot. But still, we made reasonably small profit on that. So that was a good learning curve for us. And quickly, with the help of the partners, and their relatives had several properties in Hyderabad. So we immediately launched on to 2 more properties, one on Rajbhavan Road and one opposite the Secretariat. And another 2-3 years, we were able to complete those projects also. So yes, I think hard work and a focused approach helped me in that.
Right. I mean, to succeed, you also need to have a good network of people. And I know you did mention in one of your interviews that the connections you could make while you were in Guntur, one of the assistants collector or the bureaucrats that got promoted eventually to Hyderabad, they also added the networks that you built. They have really helped for you to where you are today. Can you talk about how you could leverage the networks and where you are today? How did that help, if there is such thing called leveraging?
Yes, I would be very transparent about it. When I was in Guntur, Guntur is like a very small town during those days, and very few people were truly getting into the network and all those things. During those days, because being in business and also good in languages and things like that, I was able to connect with a lot of bureaucrats and officers. Thanks to my father, because my father was also a member of the officers club there, and I used to, being a part of my business, we used to deal with several government organizations of supplying spare parts, supplying vehicles and things like that. So every collector, every assistant collector, joint collector, DIG, SP, or the subordinate officers, deputy collectors, all of them used to be well known to us, because it's a very small place, and you can't avoid them, because every meeting, every function, you bump into each other. So I had the great opportunity to meet several bureaucrats and officers, and had wonderful relationships with them. And ultimately, all these officers who work in districts will, at some time of the seniority, will come and settle down in Hyderabad, because the secretariat is in Hyderabad. So fortunately for me, majority of them came into Hyderabad, and they have been a moral boost for me, and they're good acquaintances to me. But at the same time, I had a principled approach to everyone. It was a yardstick model, what I always have, that my friendship with bureaucrats is separate and my business is separate. So I never took any undue favors or anything from them, but their advice, their support, and their camaraderie was extremely good. And I should say that I'm blessed to have a wonderful network of officers and friends, and not only bureaucrats, but also business people. Many people from Guntur migrated to Hyderabad, and they started having businesses. So that way, yes, I was having an excellent network right from my Guntur days.
So what made you have been an entrepreneur, more or less driving your own destiny, and you have reasonable success in early real estate and construction, from the days of 550 rupees per square foot all the way to next project. Then what made you, from being within your own circle and then doing everything, to go ahead and then join with Lanco when they started Lanco? And what made you to switch the gears to that side?
Yes, it's an interesting observation, because after certain time, I felt that my strategy should be changing, and we were not getting more properties for construction or property development at that stage, because buying a property would be a very difficult task, because you need deep pockets, and we never had those deep pockets. And at that particular time, when we were doing our successful projects, and I was at the peak of my career, Mr. Rajgopal, who's the erstwhile chairman of Lanco, Rajgopal was my junior in my school. He was 2 years junior to me in Loyola Public School in Guntur. So Rajgopal also came to Hyderabad, and he was doing small contracts and small works, and he also started the Lanco Industries in Kalahasti in Tirupati. And at that time, we used to meet regularly because we were all in Hyderabad, and we had excellent camaraderie. So Rajgopal was building the organization called Lanco at that time, and he invited me to join the board and to be the vice chairman of the group as one of the co-founders. So after a lot of thought, I said, okay, this is a good opportunity to support Rajgopal and venture into industries and venture into other areas of business. So I think in 94 or so, 93, 94, I moved into Lanco as a vice chairman of the group, and we were 6 of us in the group. Rajgopal's 2 younger brothers and his brother-in-law, and another gentleman called Harishchandra Prasad. So 6 of us were the pillars of the organization, and we built it with a lot of commitment and a lot of hard work. We never had any CEOs at that time, so we ourselves were CEOs and everything in the group, and we built it. And all of you know that Lanco became the pioneer in power projects, in infrastructure and industry in many areas, and we successfully built that organization, and it went to the peaks after maybe a decade. So I was quite happy the way Lanco evolved, and all our contributions to that organization. Yeah.
Very good. I mean, which line in Lanco were you looking after? The power, the infra, the industry?
As a vice chairman, I was looking after everything.
Perfect. So
Yes.
you're up there as,
Yes.
as a co-founding person. And what made you? You said 14 years at Lanco, and then what made you to come and say, I think I have to start again on my own? So
it was not really a choice for me. I had to take a very tough decision at that time. What happened was Rajgopal had an ambition to become a politician, but all our views are that being into business, politics should not get involved in business. So I tried my level best to persuade him not to get into politics, but because his father-in-law, Mr. P. Upendra, was 3 times member of parliament from Vijayawada, and so Rajgopal had the taste of politics because moving around with his father-in-law and things like that. So he felt that his destiny is in politics. So one day we all sat, and he was suggesting that he wants to move out of Lanco and get into politics. So every one of us opposed that, and I was very clear that this is not the right choice for him to go, and that too at a very young age. But nevertheless, Rajgopal requested me and said that it is his life ambition and he wants to get into politics. So that was the time when I said, because Rajgopal and myself, we have a fairly great camaraderie and relationship. So I said, if he's moving, then I would also want to move out, because there is no point in continuing in the place where the younger generation are coming in, and they will also get involved in different kinds of operations. And I thought it is better that we give the opportunity for the younger generation to run the organization in a different manner, because I go in a traditional format, and the younger generation go in a different kind of format. So I felt, yes, it is the right time for me to also move. So I told Rajgopal that if he moves out, then I'm also moving out. So it was a painful decision, but not a regrettable decision. I never regretted that in my life. I said, whatever I have done for the organization, and built the organization and brought it to the pinnacle. And it's okay. Life has to go on, and I move on. But my instincts were very clear that politics should be away from business. Yeah.
Excellent. I mean, with the value system you have for yourself, saying that I must stay away from politics. Business is business, and there must not be a marriage between these two. And then you said it's painful decision, and you made a conscious decision to leave money on the table when you left. I mean, did it trick you, or you want to talk about it?
See, it's a very tough question to answer, because yes, when I moved out, Lanco was at the peak and the valuation, everything was there. But when I was moving out, I did not ask anything from the company, even though I was one of the 6 founders. I felt that, because at that time they were also struggling and, expanding and struggling, and it doesn't give a good this thing for me to, ask my cut at that time and, take the money available there. It's a conscious decision, and I never felt bad, or I never regretted why I left all the money or the shares of the organization and come out. I always feel that, I can stand on my own anytime required, and I can always go back to my hometown, and I'm a happily settled person in my hometown. So that never had any bearing on me. But yes, one thing is there, that my family, my wife supported what all decisions I took. So that is a great, support system I had at that time, and now also.
Very good. I mean, when you pivoted from that point, now you told yourself, I mean, why did you choose to name the company as Phoenix? Now it has become a great brand all around. And just tell the name, why it is what it is.
I wouldn't know whether it's a great brand or not, but at that time, I was again zero. I was zero when I came to Hyderabad. I was zero when I moved out of Lanco. So it was second or third moment in my life, and of course I had a lot of well-wishers, good friends, and I created my own my own name in the industry or in the city. I was never wanted to get connected as a Lanco man or a Phoenix man or XYZ. I always wanted people to recognize me as Suresh Chukkapalli, nothing else. So if someone asks me if you have any attachment to Phoenix, no, I don't have any attachment to Phoenix. If anyone asks me if I have attachment to anyone else, no. Other than my wife, I have no attachments to anyone at all, not even to my children or grandchildren. So with that being said, Phoenix is a phenomenal name of rising from the ashes. So it's somehow stuck that, yes, I'm again reliving or taking a rebirth. So, and I thought, Phoenix bird is something which maybe is relevant to my life and my journey. So that's the reason why I took the Phoenix name.
Right. And for the 17, 18 years that I have been at Phoenix, are there any moments that you regret versus I wish I had done this better, or you had any conflicts with any of your partners, teams that you worked with? Do you want to share? That could be a lesson for all of us. Is there any lesson that you have from Phoenix?
My philosophy in life is, destiny will take your own its own way. And regretting what has happened and looking back and thinking that I've done this wrong, done this right, is not a great thing. Whatever has happened has happened. Past is past. Every action of us is with certain thought, certain integrity, and certain conviction. So you might lose, you might win, you might look at a disaster in front of you. So I have no regrets on taking decisions in many areas. I have taken many decisions where I supported, I helped many people and made them into huge industrialists. But again, the shares offered to me were not given to me. And I never asked them again, because my philosophy is very clear. I never go and ask anyone anything. So there are no regrets. I'm happy that, I was able to help and promote other people also in my life. And I have several such entrepreneurs whom I have supported and helped. But never did I regret anything, what I've done. In Phoenix also, fortunately, I never had any partners in the organization except some funds which have brought in money into the company at an early stage when we are developing special economic zones and things like that. But I ensured that none of the fund partners or none of the external funding agencies regretted their investment in us. So we were able to successfully buy back the shares and successfully let them move off by making some money from us. And I always believe my reputation is more important than money. And to give you a very small, tiny example of how this got imbibed in my mind at a very young age. I was never a person who's after money, because there is only one saying. What my father said is, if you go after money, you become its slave. If you try to be greedy, then you're not a human being. So that is the saying he used to tell me. And one day he gave me an example of a very crude example. I asked him, what does it mean? Why are you saying this? Then one day when I was going with him in a car, my next door neighbor, who's a very famous physician, a doctor, he was washing his car. Those days, Fiat cars were very, very popular, and Maruti and all these things were not there, only Ambassador and Fiats. And usually self-driven cars, Fiats are self-driven cars. So this doctor, who's a very famous doctor, does about 7 to 10 operations a day, was in the porch washing his car and tires of the car. So my dad asked me a simple question. Do you see that what is happening there? I said, yes, the doctor is washing his car. Then he asked, who is the owner? Is the car the owner or the doctor the owner? I said, obviously the doctor is the owner of the car. He said, no. The car is the owner and the doctor is the slave. I didn't understand because I was very young to understand that. Then he said, see, even though the doctor can ask someone else to clean the car, he's so attached and he became a slave to the car that he himself wants to wash it. Right? So this is what happens when you are after money. And you should never think that money is a part of your life. It comes, it goes, and we should never become a slave to that. The moment you become greedy, the moment you become a slave to that, you aspire to become a millionaire, billionaire, and trillionaire, and there's no end to it. And I feel that, the entire life you keep on earning money, you never spend it, you never enjoy it, and one sudden day you die without looking at what you have done. So
Right.
that is how my approach to life has always been.
See, I mean, this is a nice pivot, right? Again, you really hold your dad very close to you, and he taught you life lessons very early in the game. And there's a connection between you and Steve Jobs in a way that Steve Jobs said.
I'm too small for that. I'm too small. Yeah.
Right. So
I'm maybe a speck of what Steve Jobs. He's a great man, a great vision.
Right. So let me just get you the connection. The connection is, he said, death is the best invention, right? And you invented something during your dad's death that made you win the Champion of Change award from former President of India through Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. So talk to us about the journey of how did you make the journey of death more memorable?
But truly speaking, it was again another miracle, I would say, because if I look back now, how it all triggered was 2007 we lost our father. It was a big blow to all of us because he was a tiger in his life and in death also. He was a towering personality, and he never bent to anyone. He had the communist philosophies, and he led his life very, very transparent and well. So when we lost him, so that was the time when we went to the crematorium in my hometown in Guntur. Earlier to that, I had visited several crematoriums, and go there, pay our respects, and go away. Spend about 2 minutes, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes. But in 2007, when my father expired, I think in September 15th of 2007, so my entire family, all of us were at the crematorium in Guntur, which was fairly good. And that was the day when I spent a couple of hours there, and I had to go back again for certain ceremonies. And for whatever reason, I felt, the crematoriums are in pathetic condition during that time. So it was lingering in my mind for several years. So it did not trigger at that time. It was lingering on my mind for several years. And I didn't know that, my subconscious was thinking of this for so many years. So we were discussing about the friendship with bureaucrats. So that was the time when one of my friend, who was an assistant collector in Guntur trainee, he joined as a trainee in Guntur way back in '86, and he was not married, and I was just married, and I was the only friend for him who could speak in English. So he used to come to me regularly and sit with me, and we used to enjoy badminton every day and things like that. So during his career and during my tenure in Hyderabad, obviously he also moved to Hyderabad, and he became the Municipal Commissioner of Hyderabad. So, and I would openly say he is the present Chief Secretary of Andhra Pradesh, Mr. Samir Sharma. So one day we were traveling together, and I don't know why it came out of my mind that I mentioned to him that, for a long time I've been thinking about this. Is there a possibility to get a land where we can build a good crematorium? He was shocked. He said, why are you thinking of this? I then said that this is what I felt when my father died, and this is what I wanted to do. So he told me that, getting a new piece of land in the city would be impossible because there's no land available. And if you go out of the city, limits, then no one will come there. So then we discussed what are the probabilities and opportunities. Then he said, okay, you do a recce on the available crematoriums in the city, and we will see how we can, work on that. So that was the time when I really went into the recce in the city, and identified two crematoriums, one on Banjara Hills Road number 12, and the other one, which is presently in the Vispa Valley region. Both of them are in horrible condition, and both of them are, full of graves, full of bushes, and I didn't know what to do, and but still I said yes, we should do something about it, and the commissioner immediately said yes, you go ahead, and we will give you the allotment. So that is how it got triggered, and then my journey started in looking at how to develop this. So we first cleaned up the whole place. Then we found several graves across the 4-acre land parcel. So it's all jig-jag everywhere, wherever place is available, they had graves. So we had to manure all of them, and we have to see where some pockets of open spaces are there. And I identified a young architect team, and we started looking at the design and see how we can do that. And finally, in about probably 1.5 years and several hours of sitting in the cremation ground, we could complete that. I think in 2014 we were able to complete the modernization of that crematorium. Yeah.
Right. I mean, on the hindsight, if you think the great work that you have done and the COVID deaths and all of that must have made the families who lost their dear ones during the COVID feel a little bit better, because they could have a crematorium that is having an opportunity for their near and dear ones who couldn't fly from abroad to have a live connection, the facility for the process for the folks and close family members to watch when they cannot travel to the place remotely. And this crematorium is equipped with that facility, and that's really heartening to know that. And you have always, see, what you have done is you have democratized, in a way, crematoriums. Now you have brought that massive change, or almost to bring that massive change in Puri, wherein that crematorium was in bad shape, and then you brought a structure to it, to the extent that the current chief minister would let go of the memorial of his own dad in that crematorium, isn't it? So these stories are really, really touching. And you have started a journey in the Ganga, and then now you have an opportunity to clean up Ganga in your own way with these crematoriums along Ganga, isn't it?
Yes.
So this is really, really humbling for all of us. And
See,
one thing,
let me give you a small this thing. You know, the experience of being a property developer really helped me, because I had the knowledge of real estate, I had the knowledge of construction, I had the knowledge of designing, I had the knowledge of mastering the entire strategy as to how a property or a building can be done. So what triggered was that I say that why a crematorium cannot be like a regular IT building. So with that in mind, we decided that we will provide all the required infrastructure for a crematorium. I should admit that I have done a lot of study on crematoriums across the country, across the world, how crematoriums work and what they do. In fact, for a certain period of time, I even neglected my business. We studied everything. We worked on several design strategies, and then brought together what are the things which are necessarily needed in a crematorium. Not many people thought a cold storage is required in a crematorium. So we put a cold storage for simple reason. You are saying that people abroad, relatives, children abroad, are watching over, internet, which is rather a simple thing where we just put the internet together and gave live stream. But what I felt was, if a son or a daughter wants to come to pay the last respects to their parents, and if the body has to remain for about 2-3 days or a week, where do they store? The only place they store is in the hospital's mortuary. And it's a very painful thing for a relative to go to the mortuary and get the body out. So that was the trigger, and we said, yes, we will have a cold room. Then Wi-Fi, then good toilet facilities, good washing facilities, because when you do cremation, you need to have a wash. Then we also felt that, there will be several aged people or people with different disabilities or comorbidities like diabetes and things, who come there and they spend 2-3 hours, and suddenly their blood pressure drops or their sugar levels drop. So we said, okay, let us have a canteen here, and we give free coffee or biscuits or something. It's everything available there. We have lockers where the ashes are stored. So we have vehicles. We have everything which a crematorium is supposed to require. So a lot of thought has gone into that, and I would also say that we have designed a brochure for a crematorium. I don't think anyone else must have thought of doing a brochure, because I'm used to developing brochures for my real estate projects. I said, why not for a crematorium? So I got a brochure design, and one day, Sri Venkaiah Naidu Garu, when he was the urban development minister, he was visiting Hyderabad. So I went to see him on a very casual, courtesy call. And for some reason, I carried the brochures with me. And I showed this to him and explained to him the whole concept. And said, this is something which is getting ready now. And, would you think that it would be appropriate for you to do the inauguration of that? He was shocked a bit. He thought, why is this fellow asking a union minister to inaugurate a crematorium? But being a great personality and a down-to-earth man, he within 2 minutes he said, "Yes, Suresh, I'll come." So that was how the crematorium was inaugurated by a union minister, and in tow with the deputy CMs, the ministers, the MLAs, bureaucrats, everyone. In fact, we had a public meeting in the crematorium. So that is how the trigger started.
Right. I mean,
And
if you notice,
and I should put on record and appreciate the quick eye of the Honorable Chief Minister of Telangana, KCR Garu. The moment he learned and he saw all the videos and how the media had projected this, he quickly said that there was a collector conference which was going on at that time, and he told the collectors conference that it was a 3-day conference, and in the first day he said, all of you should go to the crematorium, see what is happening there, have breakfast there, and come back to me for the meeting. So the next day at 8 o'clock, in 3 buses, the collectors, the mayors, and the commissioners, about 60 odd people, and with about 30-40 media people, came in and visited the crematorium. And it really created an impression on them. And they went back to the chief minister, and in the conference they spoke about this. So quickly the CM told everyone that all of them have to do similar things in their districts. And within no time, he released a government order allocating funds for crematoriums across the state, in villages, in towns, and in cities. And after that, in every meeting he conducted, he was always promoting this. And to put on record, today Telangana, getting inspired by this Mahaprasthanam, had already developed more than 2,000 plus crematoriums in villages and cities and towns. Recently, I think about 6 months back, he allocated another 400 crores for these crematoriums. So he took it as a challenge, and he said, this is something which is a necessity for everyone, not a luxury for everyone.
Very good, very good.
And to also mention about Puri, one of the senior bureaucrat of Odisha, who happened to know me, was on a visit to Hyderabad on some other work. And when he heard about our crematorium, he went and visited our crematorium. Then he said, he came and met me and said, Suresh, we should do something in Odisha, in Puri. Because he was at that time the administrator of Puri. Then he invited me to Puri. I went with all my architects team, and I saw that the crematorium there is in pathetic condition. 16 acres of land was available, but 15 acres occupied and only 1 acre available. And no shelter, nothing. On the ground, they were cremating every day about 60 to 70 bodies. So we had to take it up as a challenge and understand what we can do there. So we designed, did a preliminary design and sent it to them, which they quickly took it up with the CM and requested for a meeting. So I was invited for a meeting with Mr. Naveen Patnaik, and we discussed for about 15-20 minutes, and I did a presentation to him. He had only 3 words to say: excellent, how many months you need, and how much do you want? So I answered all the 3 questions and said, very good, and he went off. So I was sitting internally and discussing with the chief secretary and all others. And by the time I came out in half an hour, there was an announcement already made by the chief minister that 5 crores has been allocated for that. And incidentally, Mr. Biju Patnaik's Samadhi was there in that 1 acre land, which was occupying 20% of the land. And he quickly said, because I told the CM that this is a big hurdle we have. And he announced in media that my father lives in the hearts of millions of Odiyas, and he doesn't need to be there physically. So he ordered that the Samadhi can be removed. And the very next day, there was a GO released. And within a week, dozers went in and removed the Samadhi. So that was the speed at which the Oriya people worked. So in a similar fashion, the Rajiv Ranjan Mishra, who's AP cadre officer, who was the Namami Gange Director General, visited Hyderabad and visited our crematorium. And then he met me and said, Suresh, let us work to see how we can develop crematoriums across the Ganga river. So the first thing we started off is Mirzapur near, Varanasi. So the construction is going on now. So the motivation of or the seed what we have sown here went across the country. We have helped Gujarat, we have helped Tamil Nadu. We are giving our knowledge. We are helping anyone who comes to us, whether it is small or whether it is big. But to be very frank, I never imagined that this Mahaprasthanam would take off to this level. That was never thought of in our plans. But I'm satisfied with the blessings, with the good wishes of thousands of people who utilize these crematoriums. Always blessing us.
Right. Not just the crematoriums that you have democratized and then help the crematorium workers to have a better living with the initiation that you have, with the better branding that you have that is highly relevant to the activity that happens there. But let us switch gears to a couple of other activities that you have done. Maybe we'll make these two activities a little bit brief, as we probably have to do.
But before you
go ahead.
You touched on employees. See, again, the experience of corporate world has supported my thought process. I felt, all the crematoriums, the scavengers or the people who burn the bodies are neglected lot. They are in a pitiable position. They do not have proper dress. They are not properly groomed. They do not get proper, money to take home. And they are treated very badly. So the corporate culture we have, I said, if these people are going to work under Phoenix Foundation or the Mahaprasthanam Trust, they are also equal to my other Phoenix employees. So that process we incorporated here under the HR policy. So we gave them beautiful uniform where they don't regret wearing those uniforms. They have shoes, they have good uniforms, they have salaries, fixed salaries, they have incentives, they have bonuses, they have insurance policies, health policies, their children get the scholarships. So everything which we can do, we have done for them. And I can happily tell, in the last 8 years, we have not lost a single employee who said, I want to quit. And they feel that it is their own mission to keep it good and keep it clean.
I mean, no urgent unmet problem is not worthy of solving it, and you have proved it time and again by really going many levels above and beyond a normal entrepreneur would probably want to do it. And you have probably addressed many things around the taboo of doing such things, but to your heart, as an entrepreneur, I don't care the opinion of others. As long as that makes me happy and satisfied, I will go ahead and then do it, because I cannot live my life based on the opinions of others. So that the conviction that you have has come out in the past few minutes of your conversation with us.
I will tell you, there are a couple of well-wishers and some bureaucrats who told me not to venture into this. They said it is not good omen for you, not to your family. because that is what the traditional thinking was. So they said, why don't you donate some money to a Lions Club or Rotary Club? And those people do this maintenance of these things, and you should not get into these things. But I really didn't, think too much about it. In fact, incidentally, there is a Hindu philosophy that you should never go to a crematorium before the marriage of your son. If your son is getting married within the next 2 months or 3 months or 6 months, you should not visit the crematoriums or any death. But 2014, even when my son was getting married, I was sitting in the crematorium and getting this ready. So even today, my children also, even though they're getting married or they got married, they also keep visiting whenever it is required. And my philosophy is that, more than getting into, functions or, gatherings and any of these things, I'm a very private man. And two things I don't miss is the marriages and the deaths. If I am invited, if I know that there is a death or a marriage, I will definitely be there. So these are the two things I never miss. So all others, I'm okay. I don't really, regret missing them.
Right. We have touched upon quite a few topics now. I wanted to ask you, now that you are going through this post-retirement life of pursuing your passion, that's the only thing you keep with you. But beyond that, you have played the role of diplomat, and then you have a great opportunity, like you said. It's something that you didn't expect, but you could able to connect Mr. Adani and Korea and then make POSCO happen. Talk about it. I mean, how did POSCO, a $5 billion project, germinated in your mind, or you have become instrumental for that?
See, there is a saying in the Hindu philosophy that, some upper, being or a god or someone decides on something, you're only an instrument which will follow. So, as a Honorary Consul General of Korea, I have been at the forefront of Indo-Korean relationships and bringing together many organizations and things like that. So I was deeply involved in the LG gas tragedy, which happened 1.5 years back, where unfortunately about 12 people died, and I'm helping them in rebuilding a new factory and relocating the factory from Vizag and bringing them to Krishnapatnam area in Sri City in Andhra Pradesh. It is a tremendous effort, because the euphoria or the trigger of the gas tragedy, people talk about Bhopal gas and the LG gas tragedy, and some of the Koreans were put in prison for a week or 10 days for negligence and things like that. So, but on the face of it, what happens is when a foreign company gets into some problem, they do not get adequate support. We saw this in the case of POSCO and Odisha. POSCO wanted to venture into Odisha in a big way, and they made huge investments, and ultimately, because of local issues and tribal issues and many environmental issues, they had to abandon that and almost lose a couple of thousand crores. So the big ticket investment of Korea was not coming into India with that fiasco. And India was also trying its best to see how we can bring in Korea, and Korea is becoming a super rich country and one of the biggest economy in the world. And it was happening very, very slow and nothing is moving. And being a part of the Korean, diplomatic circle, so I meet all the Korean industrialists, all the CEOs of the Korean companies, and incidentally, I was, meeting up with the POSCO India MD also. So he is a wonderful gentleman, and somehow we gelled very well, and so he used to come and take my advice often. So he sits in Pune. He controls the entire country, and they have several factories in India. Of course, they're all factories of a smaller level, doing I think about $1 billion or $2 billion turnover in India. So during these conversations, I came to understand that POSCO is looking at a greenfield, integrated steel plant, and they have been scouting around for 3 to 4 years, and to see where to locate and what are the favorable conditions and things like that. So I, being an entrepreneur and being, in the industry for so long, having the experience of Lanco, everything, I know what are the nuances of, being in an industry, setting up a greenfield project, and what are the ups and downs and what are the hurdles which we get. So quickly, my interest was in Andhra Pradesh, because these people wanted a port, and Telangana doesn't have a port. So my interest was the Andhra Pradesh. So I quickly spoke to the Chief Secretary of Andhra Pradesh and everyone. And in fact, the former Chief Secretary, Aditya Nath Das, was very dynamic in that. And we said, let us visit Krishnapatnam port and see how it suits Adani. POSCO. So I took the managing director of POSCO and his entire team and visited Krishnapatnam along with the APIIC and all the industry officials of Andhra Pradesh. And we thoroughly visited the entire port. They made a presentation. Everything was there, and it's an excellent location, quite feasible for a steel plant. And incidentally, land was also available there, which they needed about 2,000 acres, and everything was very good. And we came back, and the managing director sent his recommendations to the headquarters. You should understand that POSCO is a large multinational, and the headquarters decides on everything. So headquarters was quite happy, but they were always of the opinion that having at the back of their mind that the Odisha fiasco happened. So they always wanted a local partner who can maneuver and who can handle the local political, bureaucratic, and other issues, public issues. And without a local partner, they were not interested to move. So with that in mind, the headquarters told the Indian man director that he should look at identifying a local partner who could, support. So, of course, a local partner means he needs to be big, he needs to have deep pockets, and things like that. So the only people who are eligible for that initiative were SR, Jindals, Tatas, and very few of them who are into this steel, and they are large enough. So these people were spending their time in going and talking to them and understanding, and trying to see if they have any interest in joining POSCO. But they were not getting any positive response, because everyone wants to take their own time. Second thing is, they were weighing the options of why do they need POSCO, because they have the technology, they have the money, they have everything. So they don't need a foreign partner to set up a integrated plant. So knowing everything, so this was the time when I figured out Adani is one person who has all the ports in his hand, right from East Coast to West Coast, they have about 7 or 8 ports, and they are large enough, they have deep pockets, they have everything. So I thought, why not, we discussed with Adani. That was the time when Manohar, your TiE Manohar and myself, we were having some conversation, and Manohar said, one of his very close friend, he's in Hyderabad. He's I wouldn't want to name him, but he's at the top level of Adani, and he's in Hyderabad, for a short visit. So he said, why don't we meet? And that time also, I never discussed with Manohar on the POSCO issue. So I said, okay, let us meet this gentleman. And then I went across to Manohar's farmhouse. We had coffee. We spent about an hour, tried to understand what are the areas Adani is working on. And because Adani wanted my help in bringing, telecom technology and data centers technology, and identify a large player from Korea to come into India. Then suddenly it came to my mind that why don't I raise the topic of Adani, POSCO with Adani. So I mentioned it. The first reaction is, no, we don't want to get into a vertical which we don't know. We have no idea what this is, and why do we want to even get into this? So I had to persuade him and make him understand what is the great opportunity which is lying here. So the first thing I told him is, your port will get benefited. Your port business will go threefold. Your logistic business will go sixfold. Then you will get into a new vertical which you never even dreamt of, and you don't need to manage it, because the other company is the world leader in steel, and they will run it. And having a tie-up with POSCO, which is one of the great multinational, will also enhance the brand of Adani. So with all these pluses, I told him to go back and discuss with his management. And within a week, this gentleman came back to me and said, Suresh, can we organize a meeting with these POSCO people?
Very good, very good.
And you see how things turn so fast. Within a week of Manohar and myself meeting, 1 week they came back, and within the next 1 week, myself and the POSCO MD and the team, we were in Ahmedabad.
Excellent.
So we went there, we discussed threadbare, we had a long discussion with Karan Adani and all these people, and then quickly we went into Mundra port, we saw the port, we saw the facilities available, and it's quite impressive. And and Adani's expressed their unconditional support in looking at this opportunity. Again,
wow.
There was a recce done on Mundra port, and a recommendation had gone to headquarters, and within 15 days, the headquarters team flew in by a special jet, did a thorough study, went back, and within a gap of total 1 month, a team from Adani and a team from POSCO were interacting on a regular basis, and within 3 months, it culminated to come to a MOU stage.
Excellent. Excellent.
We were also go to Korea.
Just take you. We have maybe 8 to 10 more minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna continue. I mean, just giving you the cue.
That's how this deal happened, and it's a miracle, if you may say. And it is not only a $5 billion deal, but it would go to about $20 billion, because POSCO and Adani are looking at in a big way in hydrogen generation. And to produce hydrogen, they are going to build a huge green energy business, which will support the hydrogen business. So all put together, maybe in the next 10 years, it might go to about $20 billion.
Excellent. So thousands of jobs are going to get created
Absolutely.
in the port city and beyond.
Yeah, my only regret is it didn't come to Andhra Pradesh. But nevertheless, it came to India, so I'm quite happy and satisfied with that.
Right.
And playing a small part in the whole thing, being a diplomat, it gives me a great satisfaction.
In fact, I have a couple of questions from the audience. Maybe you want to keep the answers like a minute or two. One question is, you have been an entrepreneur and a philanthropist. When and how did the transition take place? I mean, what excites or satisfies you the most now?
See, again, I will go back to my father, who always used to tell me that, you should give back to the society. And it was always in my mind. And when on my 50th birthday, I announced to my family and friends that I'm retiring by 55. But of course, it took about a year and a half more. But right from my days in Lanco, I started Lanco Foundation. So we did, several philanthropic activities under Lanco Foundation. We did thousands of bore wells, medical aids, physically handicapped aids, and many things. So it has been going on for the last 25 years for me in philanthropy. So that is very close to my heart, and I believe that I'm not going to take anything above. So why not I give back to the society which has helped me develop.
Very nice, very nice. In fact, another question that I have here is that you have given so much credit to your wife, who has been phenomenal in raising your kids, taking care of the family while you are changing the world. I mean, is this an arranged marriage? Did your dad choose your wife?
It's an arranged marriage. It's not that my dad has chosen. The alliance has come through my sister, and my dad was always very open. Whomever you choose, we are okay. And I met her through my sister and her aunt, and I said okay. It was a very quick decision, and it happened. She was born in Andhra Pradesh, but brought up in Bombay. So it was a big transition for her at the age of 20, moving from Bombay to a place like Guntur. And she not only supported my children, my family, but also my entire extended family. She's a pillar. She takes care of my entire extended family.
I mean, just for the audience, that you live with your brother and his kids, your kids, all in a group family setting, and this is something very. Go ahead.
It's a joint family effort, but my brother lives in my hometown Guntur and takes care of my family businesses. And I live in Hyderabad, but both my sons live with me, and and we are building a family house in Guntur also, where whenever we go, we all live in the same house. And yes, we are very close, a family. Yeah.
So 3 takeaways before we get into rapid fire round. 3 takeaways to the audience here from your life lessons. 3 takeaways in one sentences.
See, my first takeaway would be, there is no shortcut to success. You have to do a lot of hard work. You have to take good advice, and you have to also look at your own gut feeling and intuitions. So that is one takeaway. The second is always be humble, always be transparent, and be honest to yourself. I'm not saying honest to everyone. Be honest to yourself, and you'll know that you will not go beyond what is not to be done and what is to be done. And the third one is try to help whoever you can in whichever way possible. It could be in a very small way, it could be in a big way, but unless we come out and help others who are in need, there is nothing we can do to be a good human being.
Right. Very, very well said. Very well said out of own experience. So now the rapid fire starts. I will give you one word. You answer that one word with another word.
It's a difficult thing. Huh?
And that's it. One word, you reply with one word, instantaneously if you can, as early as you can. I mean, best friend. Best friend.
My wife,
Family.
my children and grandchildren.
Spaces.
Spaces,
Yeah, spaces.
I think my home.
Land. What is one word for land?
Land is a precious commodity.
Mr. Shankar Chukkapalli.
He is my everything in life. He is my guide, philosopher, God, everything in my life.
Guru.
I don't really remember if I had one guru who had molded me. So I feel my father is my guru.
Bureaucrat.
I have several of them.
Happiness.
I am contented with what I have.
Envy.
I really don't envy anything, and I'm not jealous of anyone growing or anyone beyond anything. So I only envy, the world where we don't have enough people to help.
Money.
I never was interested in that.
Life.
Life goes on.
Finally. Kids.
They are my jewels.
And TiE Hyderabad.
It's one of the greatest organizations which I have been interacting for quite some time, and I wish TiE a great success and doing many programs, and hopefully they involve me in some of them.
Thank you. We will definitely look forward to having you support the organization for the greater good of entrepreneurs. Once again, thank you so much for spending your time and sharing your stories.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and wish you all the best, and all the listeners. I'm extremely grateful for all of you being patiently listening to my nonsense. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Suresh Garu.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Sir, we are officially closing the call now.